Right, well, now it's my privilege. In a moment, I'm going to invite James up, who's come all the way from London this morning. Yeah, wow. We're putting him through his paces. He's probably not going to get back. He's doing the event tonight with us, so he's probably not going to go back until about 1 a.m. So really, we are working him really hard. He's come up with his friend Ryan today. James leads the Extreme Character Challenge movement, which I know I've shared a little bit about. And the reality is, you can't say loads about it because it's an adventure. And if you can't give away the secret sauce, you have to come if you're a guy to find out what it's really like. But for those of you who haven't been yet, haven't met James, I thought it would be nice for us to get to know him a little bit before he speaks. So why don't we give James a warm welcome. Hopefully your mic's on. Good to have you here with us, mate.
Thanks for having me.
It is.
London's not so far away. I'm sorry we don't come up more because you're all much nicer than everyone in London. I haven't met everyone in London, but I'm just speaking on behalf of you. I know you know that. That's why you're still here, because it's raining here. But I actually don't give me too much credit because I got my friend Ryan to drive. So the fact that
Did you sleep?
If we get home faster tonight, it'll be his problem, not mine.
Brilliant. James, why don't you tell us, obviously we know where you're from, but tell us who are the important people in your life?
You, Rich.
Thank you. That's all. Sit down now.
That's what you said to say, is it? So I'm married to Emiko. We met when we were 12 at Sunday school. But we didn't start going out till we were 14. And I sent her 32nd Valentine's Day card yesterday, but don't tell her because I didn't sign it. I just put a question mark. So she might.
Didn't you climb the Eiffel Tower yesterday?
Oh, we did climb the Eiffel Tower together yesterday. It's just that we didn't go to Paris. So we did it on the stepper in the gym, and it was and we couldn't help racing each other. And I put it on social media, and I realized my nose is dripping with like sweat and snot in the video.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought it the most romantic thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it is.
Tell us a little bit, James. So obviously, Extreme Character Challenge. This is the book. You can see some of these out there. You've wrote this. People can read a bit more to get the fuller story if they want to get one. But can you tell us how you came to end up leading it?
Yeah, well, I often say I'm James and I love men because not everyone loves men, and men are a bit naughty and quite unlovable sometimes. But I really only know what it's like to be in a kind of male environment. My son, I've got a son called Samson. He's 7 generations of only boys through obviously my father's line. And then I was in sort of stuff, and then I was in the Royal Navy for a bit, and I then was involved in a boarding school as a housemaster of all boys. And so I had this idea of men and boys that basically they're like sort of wet dogs. That they basically can be sweet, but when they're wet and dirty, they run around all over the place and make a mess. They're not always sure they're doing it, and it's not always their fault, sometimes it is. But beating them isn't necessarily the solution, but helping them dry themselves off and learn how to wipe their paws, that would be good. And so my thinking was around this, that how do you get guys to look at themselves for a start and say, well, maybe it's me, maybe I'm the wet dog in the room, the smelly wet thing, creating all the problems. So that's hard enough. Oh, hi. It's nice to see you guys up there. Is that VIP?
Yeah, this is our Ukrainian contingent, so they're actually translating at the moment. So if you hear people speaking,
it is VIP. Perfect. Yeah. Welcome.
People speaking aren't bored. It's being translated.
I get chatting at the back. So men, wet dogs, and then I was thinking, well, so it's hard to get guys to connect. So my time with working with young men especially is that they want to talk. I think they want to be better. But they just don't know how, and often no one's really taught them, and because no one's taught them, because they didn't know either. And so we started to realize that men talk best side by side. So rather than me staring at Rich, which I guarantee will get it's very awkward. Oh, he's locked in. And if I touch him especially, he's like, oh, it's nice. But men find that so awkward, and yet we often make men sit down to talk, sit down and look at me. Kids in classrooms, children, we straight at them, and men especially sit down and listen. And men don't get that. I don't know why. They should, but we don't. And so we prefer side by side. And then the great thing about side by side is when you're on a journey is that you can go from one problem that starts here, and we walk it around the room, and we're moving the problem as we're moving ourselves. And so the body also needs that. But also many men are fat and just overweight. And they don't seem to care that they have a big belly. And men tend to desperately care that women look good, but many men don't seem to care that they look good at all. And so there's a problem of health. And so we also thought, well, what if we try and help guys get healthy, as well as walking and talking? And then the final thing was, well, what about God and the meaning of life and why we're here? it does seem to me that a lot of the time in life, women do the heavy lifting, certainly around the early years of child rearing, around the discipline of maybe going to church. Some of you might be here because your partner, wife, or whoever it is, girlfriend, dragged you here. It's very rare to hear a man dragging his partner, wife to church. You normally hear the other way around. And so just trying to help guys work out, well, what's your problem with God and faith and the idea of the big things of life? And if we can go away in the wild, I believe that's where ultimately God is. I'm going to talk more about that. You're going to find that out in a moment. And so nature is this idea of God unfiltered. That creation is his expression. We can't really do much to change it. No matter how great we are as humans, we've not been able to level mountains yet very easily. And so if we look at something like a mountain or you look at something like an ocean, humans can't often get in the way of that. And I know wind farms and nonsense, but let's imagine no one. And then often for guys, it's like that's more what I was talking about when I was thinking about God. And so God's there. And so the two connect. It's miserable. It's hard work. Men are annoying. And they cry or they get angry and they try and punch me. But that's maybe my problem. That's something I draw out in the middle.
And for the guys in the room who might discount themselves, like who's it for? Is it for all guys?
It's definitely for all guys. It's deliberately hard. All of you, I think if we set the dogs on you, could start running further than you realize right now. So you've discredited yourself, think, no way I could run 10K. Guarantee there is if a dog's chasing you for 10K, you'll get going. And so I think we could all do more than we think. So for many guys, that's the first realization, wow, I didn't realize I was actually this resilient. But then the second thing is that actually all guys have got their story to tell. Every single guy's got some input for another guy. Every generation of men is helpful for another generation of men. And every broken story is an encouragement to another guy in his brokenness. So we tend to talk about male weakness, not about male strength. Absolutely no one cares your golf handicap or how fast you cycle on your bike, Rich. So, we just don't care.
I've been trying to reinforce that for the last 10 years.
Yeah, to yourself, yeah.
Good. Well, these are the dates. Put the slide up. So these are when the next trips are happening. The one in April is circled because we've got some guys already committed to that. So if you want to know that there are some other guys you can go with, that you're not going to be alone, you can. So Micah, who's stood up on the sound desk, he's going in April. And Nick, who may or may not be here, but you can grab him afterwards if you see him. So they're going to go Scotland in April. If you can't do April, but you're thinking, actually, I could be brave enough to go on my own. Like, there's going to be a load of other guys. James will be there. He'll give you a warm welcome. Put those dates down. You can sign up. Ask me a bit more about it. We'd love to have a load of guys.
Two things just to add, or one to correct. I won't give you that much of a warm welcome, but you will be welcomed. Northumberland, I've in the car coming up from 9 o'clock, because I thought it was a bit rude before 9. We've been doing some Meta Google sponsored ads. We put some money, someone gave us some money to put into ads. I've called, I think, 12 guys, was it this morning? Something like that. They're all northern. That's when I realized why they're so friendly at Sunday morning. I'm like, these guys are so friendly. And I realized, they're all guys from the north. So we've targeted men in the north. And I literally cannot tell you how encouraging those calls are. Random men picking up the phone to me going, oh, yeah, I saw your advert. Yeah, I'm coming. How do I sign up? I need this in my life. I need some disconnect from the mundane, from the boring. I've been trapped in alcoholism, or I'm angry, or my wife's had enough of me. I need help. One guy, I'm just too sedentary. I'm very overweight. I want to get fit. This is going to be my milestone. It's incredible. I'm literally, the phone is just like, a guy just messaged me now. I want to speak to you. Couldn't answer earlier. I'm so sorry. Can I call now? So if it's not for you, it might be for your mate. So don't discredit yourself on the behalf of your mate. Who's the guy in your life, in your household, in your workplace, whatever it is like, he might come away and find some hope and help.
That's brilliant. Let me pray for you as you get to share with us. Father, I just pray now that you would anoint James's words. Lord, I pray that he would find soft hearts here this morning, Lord, for every word that you want to plant in our heart, every seed which we trust is going to grow to be something fruitful. In your powerful name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Well, thank you so much for having me, Rich. Rich is a good guy. I've seen him in some low places where we've all been pretty low, and he's been one of the guys that seems reasonably consistent to who he is here. He seems to be the same guy there. I recognize this guy as the same man. I think that's a great testimony. I also really enjoyed just meeting Matt briefly and just hearing this sense of kind of like the way this place has been formed and founded, this legacy of openness and of generosity. So thank you for having me. I must confess I don't really like church. I am a priest in the Church of England, but I don't go to church every Sunday, and I don't do much on Sundays. I find this awkward, this sort of place. But this coming in here, I like this one. You kind of somehow worked it out. So I feel comfortable. But I want to talk to you a little bit about that because I think I'm beginning to understand what my problem is. It's not actually with church, so I'm going to go into that and maybe I'll come around to it at the end, or I'll just tell you over coffee. But the other day, last week, I was at Chester Racecourse, and it was closed, but I was there for a meeting, and it's the oldest racecourse in the country, and I was conscious standing on the gantry, I think they call it, the kind of balcony where people sit, looking over the whole racecourse with no one there. Just how much of the course you could see. I've never really seen a whole race course like that. Normally, they sort of seem to disappear off in that distance, and then they come back over this way, and then you just watch the horses fly past. But this one you can see, it's the oldest one in the country. I think I just said oldest one in the world, didn't I? But I think it's the oldest one in the country. And it made me realize that these horses are just doing these laps. Suddenly realized, basically horse racing is just laps of the track, like athletics, isn't it? Of course it is. But I kind of feel like horse racing is different from that. Like they go gallivant, they fly off, and then they come flying through like Formula One. They're just doing laps. And I was thinking, imagine the horse just running round and round and round. Basically, you just tell a horse, like you're a racehorse, you're just going to run around in circles really fast. That's your life. That's your destiny. And I wondered how much of our lives is like that, where basically we feel like we're just being told life is running round and round in circles really fast. In fact, better than that, could you get faster each time you do a circle? Every time you do a lap, could you just be faster this year than last year? Could you be fitter this year than last year? Could you have more this year than last year? But last year you did this, could you do it better this year? And life, we can get trapped in this loop. But if you think about the horse, that's not really, two things about the horse really. One is that's not really what they want to do, I don't think. But the second is they're not really sure why they're doing it. Because they're being beaten round, and it's like, well, I kind of have to just go left because the reins are always on the left turn. So they get kind of very good at going one way. But actually, life is, for a horse, I would have thought, much more free than that in terms of where they really want to run, is just wild. Like, straight line now, turn left a bit, go right a bit. If you've ever seen a wild horse running around, they don't seem to want to do laps. And I wonder if we're like that too. We don't really want to do laps, but we find ourselves in the ring, in the circle, in the track, on the track, just round and round and round and round, year after year. So that got me thinking, wonder what it could be like. I wonder why we get trapped like that. And if you're trying to find the answer to questions, often the easiest way to find the answer is to go back to the beginning. And so I went back to the beginning of the Bible. Shall I start the clock in case I go forever? Oh. What time do I finish? Oh, okay, tap, tap, tap. If you all start tapping, I'll get it. So you go back to the beginning, and I thought, well, I'll open the Bible and go back to Genesis, the beginning, and go to the very first page of Genesis, the first chapter of Genesis, Genesis 1. And here's a story. We find the story of the origin of humans. Now, I'm going to use origin of man because I'm going to tell you a story about brothers and men the whole time. So I'm going to use man language, but you can just transpose how you want. But the reality is that God says in Genesis 1, very, very first page, if you have it in a book, or very first screen, if you're looking there, God says, let's make man in our image and our likeness, mankind, that they may rule over the fish, the birds, the livestock, the wild animals, and all the creatures that move on the ground. Covers everything. So God did do that. He made mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female, he created them. And God blessed them and said, here's your job. Be fruitful, increase in number, fill the earth, subdue it, rule the fish, the sky, and everything that moves on the ground. I give you seeds, I give you trees, I give you food to eat on those, and the beasts, and the creatures that move on the ground. And everything that has breath I give to you. And it was what God did, and he thought it was good. So, a couple of things here. Firstly, if you're struggling for purpose this morning, if you're not sure why you're here, I think you can find some hope here. You're here to have dominion, to have a bit of rule. But it's not rule like top-down king rule, like you could just take over the country now if you want, but in fact, all the best, you might do a better job. You could do a better job than anyone. But maybe that's not the rule that it's talking about here, because this is kind of like small stuff. Over fish. Rule over fish. Well, how are you going to do that? I would think about this as like my bed. Start by making my bed. You've all seen, I'm sure, that sort of thing online. Like, wake up and make your bed is the best advice you can be given in a day. Because then you might put your shoes on the right way around, clean up after yourself at breakfast, open the front door, walk out into your driveway, and or you're out onto the front of your house or area, and step onto the road or flat, or wherever it is, and suddenly be like, well, just some litter there. I'll just pick that up because it's in my kind of little space, my little front garden. And then I'll get in my car or on my bike, and I'll just make sure that's safe because I want to make sure the brakes work because I wouldn't want to crash into the neighbour's kid first thing in the morning. And so you rule over the things in your life, and you get to your desk or you get to the place of work, you pick up your tools or you put on your little special stuff that you use for work, or you stand in front of the classroom or whatever it is, and you just think, well, I better do my bit well here, because that's really what I've been tasked with. These are your fish. This is the kind of birds of the air. These are your sort of plants that you're growing. Maybe your children, you could argue, the metaphor there. How am I growing these things? How do we grow them well? If you're in a relationship with anybody, friendship, parent, child, parent, lover, how are you going to rule over that? And again, remember, not top-down rule, but like rule over it in terms of saying, I can do that, I'll pick up that, I'll carry that, I'll be that person. So there's loads and loads and loads of stuff to do here. So if you are purposeless this morning, the first thing I can say to you, you've got loads of purpose. Come and find me and I'll tell me a bit about your life. And within 2 minutes, you'll have had a lot of jobs for the next week. But interesting, we're in jobs mode. Let's contrast that. Chapter 2, Genesis, first book, first page. Now we're on the second page, probably third. Chapter 2. Imagine I just told you a story about whitewater rafting, and then chapter 1, I told you this big epic story about whitewater rafting, and then chapter 2, I say, now, let me tell you again my story about whitewater rafting. You'd be like, oh, that was chapter 1, yeah? You just told me the whole thing. Well, somehow the Bible does that, so I don't know why. But then it's chapter 2, verse 7, we hear it again. Same story, we just heard that story, but this is different. In this one it says, then the Lord God formed a man from the dust of the ground, and breathed life into his nostrils, the breath of life, and the man became a living being. And then it says, now the Lord had planted the garden east, and put the man there, and he formed the man there, and it goes off a whole different story now. That's it, basically. That's all I'm going to tell you about that. What? So we just made humans on one page, giving them lots of jobs. Then the next chapter's like, no jobs. No, just breathe life into you, and you become living. Interesting that it's dust, dirt, and God makes me think you are half God. Some of you knew that already. A bit more than half, you're thinking. But you're half God. So if you're here for the first time, you're welcome. We should be coming to find you, really, because you're half what we're looking for anyway. So you're already half God. And what are your jobs? Oh, I can't see any jobs. I just living being, be a living being. Oh. I don't know what your jobs are. So suddenly there's a whole different freedom for you to say there aren't any because there weren't any listed. So you have got some jobs and you haven't got some jobs. Well, that then made me start thinking about the left and the right side of the brain. So many of you will know that psychologists believe that you have left and right side of the brain, and the left side controls the right side of your body. Obviously, you're going to do it this way around for me, but right? So left side controls right side. Left is order, structure, and things in rhythm, patterns. The left brain only knows what it knows. So if you give the left brain 10 things, the left brain's like, there are only 10 things. That's all I can see. It's all I can believe. It's what's in front of me. 10 things. And it actions the right side of your body, which is why many of us will be right-handed and right with our right side. Old-fashioned people would have had some sword fights with their right side. You create command. And also, that kind of right side is very structured and organized. Left side of the body, right side of the brain, is much more the romance, the music, the free, the creative. That's where love comes from. That's where sort of emotion sits largely. Now they're connected, but the right side of the brain connects the left side of the body. Left-handed people tend to be. Do you have any lefties here? Proud of yourselves? There they are. They're always quite proud. Left-handed people. Hands up if you're left-handed and creative. Quite creative. Oh, look at that. So quite a lot, yeah? So left-handed people, it's not a rule, but it tends to be that if you lead in the left side of your brain, that opens creativity. But amazing how for hundreds of years at school, teachers would have smacked the left hand as hard as possible to say, be like the right hand, please. Stop this nonsense. Sit down and behave like this. And if you're a left-handed person, you've probably struggled with that. But also others of you will be right-handed but creative, and you've found all your life people have been trying to put your creativity into boxes. You try and paint a painting within the canvas. But you're thinking, well, I wish I could have gone over here. You know, the band, they can't wait to just carry on a bit. Rich is there like, he's tapping his foot. And the drummer's like, yeah. And so we have this thinking of the left and the right side of the brain. Well, that sounds a little bit like Adam 1 and Adam 2 to me. Adam 1, here's a load of jobs, right? Left side of the brain, right side of the... Get on with your actions. Do your jobs list, to-do list. And then Adam 2, you'll know what to do. Live. And then there's the story of the first humans. These are the first real humans, because Adam and Eve are not the first real humans because they're created in weird ways. They have children called Cain and Abel. Firstborn is Cain, second is Abel. They're both farmers, but Cain digs holes and plants seeds. He's the firstborn, he's responsible, he's organized. And guess what? The seasons and all the rhythm of planting and growing requires discipline. If you miss something, it dies. You've got to do things in order, you've got to do things in a structure, and there are rhythms and ways of doing it. Cain gets stuck in, it's hard work digging holes. And so he digs and digs and digs and plants and plants and plants and grows and grows and grows and organizes and structures and organizes and structures. His younger brother, Abel, he's quite different. Abel, the name actually means vapor, like breath. Abel's a sheep farmer. Now, I do know a tiny, tiny bit about sheep farming, but if there's a sheep farmer here, I'm absolutely guaranteed I'm about to insult you. Sheep farming seems like a little bit less work than digging holes, but I'm sure it's hard work nonetheless because rearing things is difficult. But as I understand it, back in the day, the old-fashioned way was, here's my sheep, off we go, and we'll be back later. And then where they go is grass, or feed. But the sheep farmer, as I understand it, doesn't cut the grass and feed the sheep. The sheep farmer just stands there while the sheep feed themselves. And the sheep get fat by themselves because of day and night and day and night. And the sheep farmer, shepherd, just sleeps while they're sleeping. Now, maybe if a wolf comes, he has to have a little scrap. But apart from that, sheep farming is just a lot of hanging around. So guess what you can do while you're hanging around? Daydream. Think. Be creative, sing, dance, the hills are alive, waltz through the green grass, say, let's go left a bit. I saw some lovely pasture that way. Let's just go that way. Actually, it's not as good as I thought. Oh, how about that? Let's go over this way. Rhythms and days and rains. Rain, well, we'll just eat a bit in the rain. Dry, we'll eat a bit in the dry. So if you imagine the life of a shepherd, much more free, and Abel's character is much more like that, much more spontaneous, much more wild, much more free. Now it comes in the story that they have to give God an offering to say thank you. And so Cain says, well, I've grown this, so you can have that, and I'll have that. There we go. Abel says, I didn't really do much. I was out here wandering around, so you can have the best of it because it's all like a bonus. They grew themselves, really. I protected them, so hey. And he dances along and says, here we go. Here is the best of it. And the Bible says that God favors Abel's offering. He favors it. And Cain is really angry about that. Because Cain is like, hang on a minute, all this work, all of this that I've done day in, day out, and he waltzes off and waltzes back. We don't know where he goes and we don't know when he's coming back. And then he gives you his lamb which grew itself and hatched itself and birthed itself with a bit of help maybe, but what did he really do? And you favor that. And God's like, yeah, that's basically what it is, my friend. So Cain says, I don't like that, I'm going to kill Abel. And Abel's innocent, sweet, naive, gentle, and Cain is angry and thoughtful. You could say conniving, planning. So he plans and takes Abel away, and he attacks him. And in that story, he kills him. But once you imagine, he doesn't kill him. He tries to kill him, but doesn't quite do it. So now come with me to the second part of the story, which I'm taking massive artistic license, gapping a whole little bit of the book, of the Bible, and coming into a story we find a bit later on. Here it is. There was a man called Adam who had two sons, Cain and Abel. The younger one, Abel, said to his father, Dad, Adam, don't call me Adam. Okay, Dad, give me my share of the estate. So he divided his property between them. He gave Cain some and Abel the other. Not long after that, Abel got together all he had from his dad and set off for a distant country and there squandered his wealth in wild living. Other pieces say it's hookers and bars and parties. After he'd spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of the country who sent him into the field to look after pigs. Abel's good, remember, he's a farmer. He goes out, looks after pigs. What does he do with the pigs? How do you look after pigs? Just make sure they're fed. Let them eat you. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. Poor old Abel. So he sat there miserable, and when he came to his senses, he thought to himself, how many of my father's hired servants have more food to spare? And here I am starving to death. I'll set out, I'm going to go back home to my dad and say to him, Dad, Adam, I've sinned against heaven and against you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. That's all I expect. So he got up and went to his dad. But while he was still a long way off, Adam saw him coming. He was filled with compassion for him and love and favor. And he ran to his son Abel, and he threw his arms around him, and he kissed him. And he said, here you are. And Abel said, hang on. I've sinned against heaven and against you. He's got his speech ready. I'm no longer I can't be called your son. Just a servant is all I expect. But the father said I'm not listening to that. He said to everyone else, get quick. Get the best of everything we've got. Remember the best one. Get it, everything, bring it. Put it on him, put a ring on his finger, sandals on his feet, give him a robe of clothes, make him back one of our children again, because this son of mine, it was like he was dead, and it's now he's alive again. He's come back to life for us. He's brought life back. He was lost, and now he's found, so everyone began to celebrate. That is exactly the sort of person you want back in your life. Meanwhile, the older son called Cain was where he should be, in the field, digging holes. When he came near the house at the end of a hard day, he heard music and dancing. He was like, what's this? That's not supposed to happen on a Tuesday. So he called one of his servants and asked him, what's going on? And the servant said, have you heard? Your brother, Abel, he's come back home. And your father's killed a fattened calf and given him the best feast because he has him back safe and sound. He's really happy. Isn't it great? Life is back in the family. We're all back together again. And Cain became angry again because Cain is angry. And he refused to go in. And so his father went out and pleaded with him. But he answered his father, look, all these years I've been working for you, toiling the land, doing all the things I'm supposed to be doing, like a good little boy. And I've never asked for anything. I've never disobeyed you. I've followed everything you've said. But you've never given me even a young goat to celebrate with. You never had a party for me. But then when this son of yours, Abel, comes home, you've decided to kill all the best stuff and give him everything. My son, Cain, Adam said, you've always been with me, and everything I have is already yours. But we have to celebrate and be glad because Abel was dead and he's now alive again. He was lost and now he's found. I wonder if you feel a little bit more like Cain or a bit more like Abel. I wonder if your left brain or right brain dominates your thinking. The message I've got from these two stories that I've made one is that when I become like Cain, the risk is my Cain will always try and kill my Abel. My order and structure and logic will always try and kill the freedom of the wild. And God favors the freedom of the wild and the wild one. And maybe if you're here for the first time, you feel like you're a wild one, that this isn't the sort of place for you because of order and structure. And I want to say to you, you're probably right, and I'm sorry if I've made this place feel too ordered. We're sorry if sitting in rows listening to someone preach at you isn't what you want, because actually I understand. I get that. Abel can't sit still for too long. Abel wants to shout, wants to interact, wants to say, yeah, no. Abel wants to kind of walk up and down. Abel might want to lie down because he's got a bit of a tummy ache. But Cain says, no. Humans, adults, sit in rows. The children, the noisy ones, the Abel-like ones, get rid of them because they're a distraction for Cain because I can't concentrate or make notes. Cain always kills Abel. So if you're wild and free and you don't think you belong in church, I probably agree with you. It's just that we as a church need you because when you're out there without the structure of something, you're likely to find yourself lost and hungry and desolate. Because Abel on his own, he's no good either. And much as I've slightly slandered Cain, Cain's actually needed. The way I was thinking about it was, I wonder if it's a bit like a cage, a bird cage. Do you remember the old-fashioned ones, like a wicker cage or a metal cage? And you put the little bird in and shut the door. No good. Bird can't fly. Bird can't sing. But what if you just took the door off and the bird could come and go? That would be ideal for birds. I've got bird boxes. That's what they do. They love that. You've got a home, somewhere safe, some boundaries, some structure, but most of the time you're out there singing, whistling away and being wild. But then you need to come home again. And having a home is good for you. So Cain and Abel have a place. They have a balance. But because Cain always tries to kill Abel, we need to be careful that we're not trying to constantly kill what God favors. What does God favor? God favors freedom. God favors spontaneity. God favors the wind and the whistle. God favors dance. God favors generosity. God favors brave, bold, wild. I'm just in. I'm in. Ooh, it's a silly decision, but I'm doing it anyway. I'm in. God favors risk, not safety. Safety is Cain. Remember C.S. Lewis, who wrote Narnia books, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe and all those. Remember his word about Aslan the lion? When they're like, oh, he's so sweet. Oh, no. He's good. He's not likely to maul you, rip you limb from limb. He's good, but he's not safe. Don't be silly. He's not safe. He can't be safe because Cain is safe and ordered and structured and doesn't ever have a party with his dad's money. God's much more like Abel. And so I wonder if there's two types of people here going to come into land. Is it a tap? About now. Is that enough? Yeah. I wonder if there's two types of people here. I wonder if there's somebody here thinking, I'm like Abel and I've never felt welcome in this place. And I want to say to you, you are really welcome. In fact, you're so welcome, I want to be more like you. I'd love you to teach me how to be more free, how to not be constricted or constrained. I stood up earlier to say the dedication thing, and I had to promise to pray for the baby. I'm not going to pray for the baby because I don't even know the baby's name. So I nearly sat down again, but I was like, oh, I'm standing up now. So now we have to pray. So I said a quick prayer for the baby so I didn't lie. Abel would just laugh like, you idiot. It's not really about that. You just stood up to try and join in to show your... Just relax. There was a guy called Dallas Willard. He was once asked after years of thinking, what's Jesus like? In one word, tell me what Jesus is like. This guy who died on that. What's he like? He said in one word. Do you know what he said? Relaxed. Relaxed? You're joking. No, there's a world to save. He's on a mission. No, don't mess around with Jesus. He died for you. No, he's relaxed. A friend of mine, my old boss, Nicky Gumbel, used to say, intensity is not a fruit of the Spirit. Intensity is not in God's plan. Do not be intense. Chill out. Abel, please come back. We need you because you're not intense. You're relaxed. You can party. Thank goodness, because you lot can't. I've been to some Christian parties with Schlur. I wish I bought shares in Schlur like 30 years ago. I can be rich. Who owns Schlur? Must be Christians. I've never ever drunk. Is it even a thing still? Schlur? It's only ever in Christian things where there's like Schlur and a little bit of dried bread and some old cheese. Welcome. So maybe we need to be more like Abel, but also Cain. Some of us will have felt that actually my Abel living has meant I'm too wild. I've ended up desolate. I've ended up in a pigsty. And even my father's hired hands, even the servants, even the lowest in his family have more than I have because those Christians over there seem to have something I haven't got. They've got something that I need. And so those Abels out there, maybe there's a bit of Cain that you need in your life. So some of us Cains, we need to be more like Abel, and some of us Abels, we need to be more like Cain. But remember that Cain always kills Abel, so just keep that balance. And I think this guy gets it right. This is a little video you might have seen. It came out 3 days ago, because this is a guy from Dawson's Creek who died last week, or whenever it was, 3 days or 4 days ago, called James Van Der Beek. And he left this message. And I'll play this message, and the band are going to come up. And I've asked the band to come up while the message is on, and they're going to make up a new song, because that's what Abel would do. So I've said no normal song that we all know. Just start playing something that you feel like immediately. And then I think we should all start being a bit more like Abel. So what I'm going to ask you to do is just start doing whatever you want to do immediately. And if you want to go walk off. If you want to stand up, stand up. If you want to sit down, lie down. Let's just allow the place to be, it's an all right space. Do what you want. Why should you sit here in boring rows waiting to be told what to do? So the band are going to up. They're going to play a little song they've never played before. Nervy for them. It better be good. Cain. But I want to watch this film and just see if we could end our lives or finish our lives like this guy did who died 2 or 3 days ago.
It has been the hardest year of my life, and I wanted to share something that I learned with y'all. When I was younger, I used to define myself as an actor, right? Which was never really all that fulfilling. And then I became a husband, and that was much better. And then I became a father, and that was the ultimate. I could define myself then as a loving, capable, strong, supportive husband, father, provider, steward of the land that we're so lucky to live on. And for a long time, that felt like a really good definition to the question.
Cain, yeah?
Who am I? What am I?
Father, husband.
And then this year, I had to look my own mortality in the eye.
You got cancer.
I had to come nose to nose with death. And all of those definitions that I cared so deeply about were stripped from me. I was away for treatment, so I could no longer be a husband that was helpful to my wife. I could no longer be a father who could pick up his kids and put them to bed and be there for them. I could not be a provider because I wasn't working. I couldn't even be a steward of the land because at times I was too weak to prune all the trees during the window that you're supposed to prune them. And so I was faced with the question, if I am just a too skinny, weak guy alone in an apartment with cancer, what am I? And I meditated and the answer came through, I am worthy of God's love. Simply because I exist. And if I'm worthy of God's love, shouldn't I also be worthy of my own? And the same is true for you.
Simply, because I'm alive, God's given me 50% of him, I'm worthy. And if he thinks I'm worthy, and he thinks you're worthy, shouldn't you believe it? Stand, sit, kneel, do what you want while we play a bit of music, listen to some music, and then I might talk in a moment.